time it is!
Thank you all for checking out the C Squared Hour. I'm your host, Chris, bringing you another, we'll call it episode. I was going to think of something clever to say about what you're going to hear and about, nope, you're just getting an episode. My dog's barking in the background, just distracting me. Side note, bonus, between the next 30 seconds and 4.5 minutes, you may get a slight hint of my dog barking in the background. So that bitch I was telling you about last week, you may get to hear her. So you're welcome. This might not be the most organized show I've ever done. I was already at a comedy show earlier, at dinner, drinking, bar beforehand. Anyway, I've already had a bit of a night. So yeah, just bear with me. I hope you all enjoy it. That would be the reason I'm not going to shout out the beer I'm drinking. A, because none of you fuckers recommended one. And B, I'm already a bit sideways right now, so I don't want anyone thinking... See, I usually start the show at about a 0.06. And by the time I finish, I'm at about a 0.1. You know, which is fine. Any beer distributor or maker or brewer can understand that. I get that. But starting at a 0.11 and finishing at God knows whatever the fuck I'm going to finish at, no matter what kind of beer you're trying, I mean, unless it's Old English, no matter what you're trying to promote, that is not a good look. The host starting here and going deeper. So, I'm not going to shout out the beer, but I'm enjoying it. Told you, gonna hear a dog in the background. Listen to that shit. And you wonder why I get woken up in the middle of the night. This fucking bitch, she is the most nocturnal animal I've ever met, and I've had hamsters. I don't know if that's supposed to be a good analysis or what have you. I was going to try to start this a little bit earlier. I mean, even though it's kind of late at night anyway. But, unfortunately, I had an issue with the streaming services I was doing. Because God knows if you can download and steal shit if you really look for it. What you want to do is, if you're going to have a subscription, make it a long story, probably for next episode. Speaking of which, obviously you fuckers know that I have to have something going in the background or my mind wanders more than usual. So that's where the whole streaming service thing came from. Anywho, I'll leave that for the next episode. My longtime squareheads will be asking, where is the other Chris? He's on a mission for me, in fact. He asked about the editing process of this and how all... He asked the whole process on how to go from after the recording to getting it posted and all that. And I told him that the editing process is the longest and most tedious part of it, just because I have to re-listen to myself and I hate myself. So there's that. And he asked how long it takes, and I said, well, it takes about Apocalypse Now. Meaning, when I start editing, I throw on Apocalypse Now, one of my favorite movies ever. Shout out Dad for turning me onto it. I throw that movie on and start editing, and by the time Martin Sheen kills Marlon Brando, I'm about done. we were talking over text while he was doing this, so he probably didn't necessarily read what I was saying. He went down to Hollywood, and what Chris decided to do was go to the studios. I think MGM is the one he's really going after. I think that's who is most... I don't know how it all works, but he is talking to a bunch of the studios trying to get Apocalypse Now edited shorter. Right now on Netflix, it's the Redux version, which is, has a few extra scenes. A couple of them I like, a couple of them I don't like, what have you. I'm not going to get into that argument. But what he's trying to do is trying to find a shorter edit of it. I get where he's coming from that. And trust me, he's not slow, quote unquote. I don't know why he took this one so literally. I don't get it. But he turned off his phone or blocked me or something. So basically he didn't want me to talk him out of doing this. So I can't get a hold of him. And really, it has nothing to do with the movie. The length of the editing. I don't have to explain this to all you. I'm actually talking to all of you, so you hear what I'm saying rather than just a text where it could be misconstrued. So, anyway, he's down there helping me out. Not sure if it's gonna work. Not sure if he's gonna figure out, if he's not gonna put two and two together. Like, oh, that's not what the fuck he meant. But hey, if he's trying to help me out, by all means, get on it, bud. I appreciate it. I did mention in the last couple episodes that I am getting... See, I went from like I'm rolling with this table. It's like a fake wood kind of thing, or maybe it's a real wood, but just from trees no one gives a shit about, and I went from a card table to this, which is sturdier, more room, what have you. But as you just heard, if you're rolling with beer bottles, you hear them a little more. So it's tough. I don't know where to go, and I don't know how to control myself. I speak a lot with my hands. I speak a lot with... So I don't know how to control stuff and keep, the beer away from the tables. I'm trying, all right? Anyway, I mentioned either last episode or a couple episodes ago that I'm getting a lot more of a steady stream of listeners or downloads or streams or what have you, all those different things. And I wasn't sure if it was an anomaly. I wasn't sure if you people were cheating somehow, which, don't worry, if you were cheating my numbers, I don't mind. I would get paid, if I ever got paid for this. The same if you were cheating as if you weren't, but as long as I'm not the one cheating, plausible deniability. So, anywho, you're going to hear a lot of those transition words, by the way, because, like I said, drinking. I know that it's not an anomaly, and I know that more people are joining. You know why? Because the fake porn broads are following me on Twitter again. I know you know what I mean if you're on Twitter at all in any sort of... There's the there's the ones that like, oh, Megan74342 is now following you. And she's like, hey, I'm a real person wearing this swimsuit in my profile picture. And for $6.99, you could talk to this real person. I'm getting more of those follows. What that means is people are actually listening because they're going for, people who are getting some sort of heat on them because they look like, oh, who's following the C Squared Hour? Oh, who's this Megan 45434? I know who. Well, I don't know who she is, but oh, look, she's a real broad, and we could. Anyway, the fact that more and more of those are following me now just shows that it's not an anomaly. It's not fake. I'm getting more and more streams, so thank you for all that. As you all know, there's something I got to say. Randy, I just hung out with you. I just said the offer straight to your fucking face. Randy, lace them up, bud. I'm right here. I am right here. I'm not going anywhere. I sat face to face to you and said, you know what? He said he liked watching amateur boxing. I said, you want to know how to watch amateur boxing? You can watch it from the ring. I'm giving you the opportunity. So far, he won't do it. So here's the offer. Randy, even though it's hack at this point, lace him up, bud. Fucking table echoing again. I could talk a lot more about it, but I'm not going to go into it that much more. Just know that every episode, I'm challenging this cocksucker to fight me. And either he fights me, or he says he's a pussy publicly, and I can stop this offer. So that's where we're at. Also, I have a Midnight Cowboy going on in the background. If you ask the other Chris, when I was living with him, I made him watch this. Like one afternoon, it came on one of the channels. I think he was like trying to go get food at one point. I'm like, no, dude, you gotta watch it. Great fucking movie. Love it. And now he loves it too. So, anyway, Randy, let's lace him up. You see, no matter how drunk I am, I'm gonna bring it all back. Don't worry, ladies. You're not looking for the Statue of Liberty at all. No, man, I ain't. I was a little worried because after the last episode, I take notes throughout the week, on my phone, and go into my episodes. I was a little worried that I didn't have enough material. Here's the issue. Here's what I don't have. Enough of a memory. Because I drove around for about a half hour after I thought, like, oh God, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about. And thought of 10 different topics. Most of them aren't even on this episode. Most of them came up later, but 10 different topics. I need to give myself a little more credit than I usually do. Yeah, like I said, a little drunker, went to a comedy show, and what I realized is if I was a stand-up comedian, I would be awesome at premises. I could think of a funny idea like no one's goddamn business. The punchline is where things would go sideways. Hence me not being a stand-up. Now, this is interesting timing, and I don't know how much my phone and computer and all that stuff is really listening to me, or how, I mean, it obviously is. We all know that it's happening. But I mentioned last week, joke stealing, and that how if I do steal a joke, if you hear me steal a joke, completely accidental, and I will admit to it right away. That being said, during my 45-minute drive of self-hatred and just all that sort of stuff, thinking like I'm never gonna have an idea, I'm thinking like there are broads on OnlyFans who you could pay a certain amount and go fuck them, but since they're recording them for their site, it's not illegal. However, prostitution is. Thought of that whole thing. I'm like, oh man, that is so goddamn funny. That is awesome. Well, guess what? It's a Jim Jeffries joke. And I'm just paraphrasing it, but you can't pay for sex unless you are filming it. And he does that whole joke. I, of course, saw that. I'm a big Jim Jeffries fan. I, of course, saw that joke. I saw the special it came from. I knew I wasn't that clever. I knew it. And it took that clip popping up on Facebook for me to realize, oh yeah, I am not that clever. No, that was said much better and in a much more concise way than I will ever do it. So there's the two things there. A, I told you I might accidentally steal a joke, and if I do, I apologize. I will say I'll never do it again, but that's probably wrong, but I'll never do it consciously, and I'll always admit to it. Second of all, I understand phones and computers and all that shit are listening to you. You know, I have a song come up after I've been talking about it. Just talking about it. No rhyme or reason. And it comes up on a different device. It'll come up on my computer downstairs when I was talking about it upstairs, and the only thing close was the phone. We know Google, Apple, all that stuff's listening to us. However, I mentioned joke stealing, but I only thought of the joke that is basically stolen. So what in the good fuck, why did that come up on my timeline or in my thing? What are they really fucking listening to? And I've been fucking... I mean, I'm crazy, I'm nutty, I understand that. So, but honestly, mentioned I might steal a joke on accident. 3 days later, thought of a funny joke. 5 days later, see that joke on Facebook from someone else. So there are two things that are happening. Either A, someone's tapped into our thoughts, or whatever Android or whatever, maybe it was a vaccine that inserted a microchip. Maybe somehow Facebook is able to read that microchip and is able to, you know, say what you need to hear. Or maybe, since I am a minister, of course, online minister, maybe it's the Lord saying, hey, look, don't make that joke. Because look, here is that joke in another way and probably better than you're going to say it. So I'm going to choose to believe the divine intervention side of it. So that goes away from the whole, you know, vaccine or the whatever drinking water or whatever thing. No, it was the Lord saying, hey, look, you're about to steal a joke. Don't do it. Here it is. Thank you, Lord. Speaking of which, we got a new variant. Is everyone excited? New COVID variant. They managed not to name it after a famous company. So we're getting somewhere there. The Delta variant and then the coronavirus. A lot of companies get pissed off. They put the Omicron or the Armicon or whatever the fuck they're calling this one. Not a famous company that I know of, but managed to do it. It turns out from all the stories I'm hearing, and I could be completely wrong, like you all know, I only read news headlines. That's it. I make my opinion based on the headlines. You're welcome. From what I'm seeing is this one may be more contagious, but less severe and less severe side effects, and no one's dying from it and what have you. Hate to sound like an old guy, but man, they don't make coronavirus like they used to. Am I right, folks? Man, the one that came out in November of 19, it was killing everybody inside. The Delta variant was going to get through every vaccine, and it was, you know, the or Monocron or the Samarticron or whatever. Not killing it, but they don't make coronavirus like they used to. I understand old people now. This is the perfect example. Back in my day, we had the real COVID-19, not this bullshit pussy ass stuff that you have running around these days. Once again, I know I've been drinking. I'm sorry if you hear the beer slamming down on the table. It's because I have a nicer table than I used to. This is your fault for giving me more of a reason to invest in this show, if you will. But yeah, whew. They don't make it like they used to. Is there a booster shot for that or whatever? I don't know. Here's what I do know. I've said similar things before, and probably say similar things again. If you're a liberal and are worried about the environment, you should be 100% anti-vax when it comes to this. You should be 100% against, I mean, Christ, the ventilators, leave them for people under 40. I'm saying you worry about, oh, well, we can't do this to nature. We can't do what we're doing. Well, overpopulation is the problem. Nature is trying to reverse it, whether it's from a bat being eaten or something getting out from a lab. Hey, that's probably nature too, right? Nature's trying to take care of it, but we won't fucking let it. So anyone who claims to be, and I know I made a similar argument and I made a similar statement on my last episode, and I get that. And you're going to hear it more. I'm not a one-trick pony, but I'm about like a six-trick pony. All right? I don't got much. It's interesting to me that the group that is most pro-environment, pro-taking care of the planet, is also the most pro, let's make sure everyone's safe and let's make sure everyone can live a long life. Well, no. You can't have it both ways. One of them contradicts the other. We gotta stop these wildfires and all this stuff. It's because of global warming. No, it's because, we're too close to people and that shit should have burned down. COVID-19 tried to do what Greenpeace has been trying to do for decades. If Greenpeace is for the vaccine, I firmly believe that it goes against everything they fucking believe in. And they should be, I don't know, stripped of some sort of funding that they get or something like that. I don't know. You know what? COVID is doing their goddamn best. You know what? We're fighting them. We're saying, you know what, COVID? No, we don't want you to help our society. No. You know what we're going to do? We're going to lock ourselves indoors. Yeah, that way you can't get to us. Yeah, we're going to come up with a vaccine for you. Yeah, that's it. We're going to make people wear masks. Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do for you. And COVID's like, okay, fine. You know what? You're not going to get us the first time? Here comes Delta. I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck that. Here comes the booster shot. Well, shit, okay, here comes the Omicron or whatever. Oh, yeah? Well, guess what? We have a booster for that too, and that one isn't even as good. What does nature have to do to say, hey, look, you guys want to take care of me, let me take care of myself a little bit, and stay the fuck out of this. And there's people that are going to mention, oh, well, you're just racist. No, the reason it hits Asian countries more is because there's more people packed into a smaller spot, okay? Think of this as a viral bomb, And if you have more people closer to the bomb, more people are going to get it. But if it's spread out, that's why, Kansas isn't seeing as many. Different story for a different day. What I'm saying is, COVID is proving that COVID is trying. It is trying to help the environmentalists here, and we won't allow it. I don't know what else needs to happen. I mean, you think the Spanish flu, the last one that they're comparing this to, that was right after the Industrial Revolution. Coincidence? Probably, because I don't know the exact dates of them. But for the sake of the show, coincidence? Probably not. Nature is trying to do its job and we just won't let it. Good news, however. Germany, according to CNN, is the first country that is going to put in a lockdown for non-vaccinated people because of this outbreak. Germany, thank you for being ahead of this game or what have you, but a lockdown initiated by Germany might not have the best optics, quote unquote. Germany, let Spain do it first. Let France do it first. I haven't even looked. And of course, you guys just all heard another beer pop because I'm trying to set it on the table. Germany, let other people do it. Or at least talk to another country and say, hey, look, we're planning on this. Will you do it first? And once Denmark does it, you're like, okay, look, we're not the first. We're not the headline. But all I see from the headlines, I'm a headline boy, you know that. What I see from the headlines, Germany lockdown. That went well last time, didn't it? Are we ever gonna forget that whole thing? Like, Germany has proven to be a pretty good ally to the West and has proven to be, pretty progressive and stuff. But nope, anytime you hear Germany, what do you think? 1937. Poor Germany. Poor Germany post 93. We'll say that. You can't be the first. Alright, since I'm getting a little too weird on current events and news and stuff like that, let's jump into sports real quick. I live in the northwest of the country. Gonzaga lost to Duke. They were the number 1 team versus the number 3 team, I think. Big fucking deal. Whatever. Gonzaga constantly underperforms. I say it's because they play in 2 weeks of a conference and they get shoved around by real teams like Baylor, like UCLA last year. Maybe this is a good loss for them. Maybe them getting their dick kicked in by a more physical team, because no matter how talented you are, an let me try that again, because AZT team ain't going to be that good. An ACC team is going to be able to recruit more physical people, just the way it is. I don't care how good you are. Whatever. Maybe getting their dick kicked in, and they didn't really get it. They didn't really get it kicked in. They were in foul trouble, which you're going to run into in a better, bigger physical team. Maybe it's good for them. I don't know. That's all I got. I figure with where I live in the inland Pacific Northwest, goddamn, they have the inland Northwest, the inland Pacific Northwest. I don't know what we got to say. Where I got to shout out, I got to make a Gonzaga comment. This loss to Duke might be good. I don't know, but I still don't think, no matter how good your team is or your recruiting class is or how good your number one player is, I don't see them being able to physically last through the tournament. And I may be wrong, but they're never going to recruit anyone close to a Zion Williamson or anywhere close to, God damn it, I don't watch enough college basketball to think of another goddamn name. No matter how good the recruiting class is, they're never going to recruit a 5-person lineup as physical as teams in big conferences are going to have to recruit. No matter how good or bad Duke is, they still got to compete with North Carolina. And so they have to recruit people tough enough to play against North Carolina. Gonzaga has to recruit people tough enough to play against Pepperdine, Portland. That's where your trouble comes in. And honestly, until you leave divisions, it's not going to matter. And then, you know what? You're going to leave divisions and not automatically get your bid. Whatever. That's enough. No one gives a flying fuck about Gonzaga outside the Northwest. All I know is, they're the number one team for some reason. Didn't they get their ass kicked in the finals last year? Yeah, but Baylor's not as good this year, so they're the number one team. Done talking about them. Baseball just went into lockout. Just happened. The last story I saw is they allegedly used 2 different types of baseballs last year. Some with, quote, more bounciness. I don't know what's going on with the lockout. I don't know what's going on with it. It's CBA shit. It's collective bar, higher level than me. There tends to be a thought between sports fans whether you enjoy America's pastime or you don't. What have you, all right? You can't get away with a news story saying bounciness when it comes to your ball. Just can't do it. NFL can get away with Deflategate because, there's the whole CTE thing and shit like that. You don't have that in baseball. So if you have a news story come out, make sure it doesn't say bounciness. That's all I got about the CBA. Which isn't even a thing. I don't know. Oh my God, now there's going to be pitchers coming out saying, hey, no wonder I didn't have a good year. They were using bouncier. The fact that you have to say bouncier in an article really bugs me. As I drop the beer bottle, don't worry, it was empty. I think that's all I got on sports this week. But hey, here we go. You ready? Segway time. You know what is a very historic baseball city? Detroit. Well, it's funny you should mention that. Detroit recently just had some big congressional meetings and some shit about. Let me look how I wrote this down. I wrote this down when I was sober, I promise. I was listening to late night radio. What was the Coast to Coast? That old show. If any of you like conspiracy radio, you know what that is. Anywho, it's on the trucking channel on Sirius XM. So the news in between commercial breaks, all into trucking. Well, here's the news. Detroit meetings about quote-unquote chips. that have something to do with electric vehicles. I'm too dumb to figure that out. Here's what I did learn from listening to that. All but one of the representatives, the government representatives that were there, were female. I do get that this tends to be a more liberal idea, more liberal for whatever reason. I don't know why this is a fucking party line thing, but I do understand that, and there tends to be more for female Democrats at the higher level than there are males. I get that, but you're talking to Detroit automakers about the trucking business. I would love for you to show me how these broads have the most knowledge and experience in the trucking industry out of all the Congress and the Senate. All of them. These are the ones that you're going to choose to speak on behalf of America for this? And quite honestly, I don't know. I don't really trust the dude that was there. If you're the only dude that's there, you're probably just a dumb little cuck who they dragged along to say, hey, look, we can't have all broads here. Whatever they were talking about is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Once you see the names there, it's irrelevant. Who was... I believe there was that whole, the last election with, whatever, there was the, female, I believe congressman or congresswoman who was, who wears a full burqa, what have you. I believe she was one of the representatives who went to this meeting in Detroit. Hearing her debates and hearing her arguments, not sure how much she knows about trucking. Second of all, are you really going to send her to a gathering? I guess, that's the wrong word, but a gathering of people where the people who are against that are going to be super against it now? It was mentioned before on my show, and it'll be mentioned again. People need to understand public perception. You're going to have a trucking or a long... and all but one are going to be females, and the one's going to be handpicked with... Again, I know I'm not quite a one-trick pony, about a six-trick pony. This is one of those tricks, but I doubt that there's only one dude you can find to go to that. And I doubt there's only one dude who will toe the company line. And in fact, I bet you could find numerous dudes who will say, hey, throw an earpiece in me. I'll say whatever the fuck you want. Here is what really annoys me about it. I am going to solve the electric vehicle dilemma right now for you. You need to figure out how to make an electric car drive 800 miles and charge overnight. All you have to do. I've looked into electric cars, but the problem is I make road trips over 200 miles. And guess what? If I drove it to the max, I would have to let the car charge for 12 hours. Neither of those things can happen in the road trips I need to take. So, you know what you need to figure out? 800 miles, charge overnight. 6 hours, 4 hours, whatever. That's what you need to figure out. Okay? Pretty fucking simple. Pretty simple. The problem I run into with all these hearings that they're having and shit and all this stuff that's going on in Detroit, you don't need 20 fucking people from DC to fly to Detroit to have this fucking conversation. You wonder why I'm a libertarian? Because 8 fucking or 10 or 12 or whatever people from Washington flew to Detroit, probably first class or otherwise, on America's dime to hear, hey, we need to figure out how to drive farther and charge quicker. A text wouldn't have worked. We just proved that 80% of business can be done over Zoom. Why the fuck wasn't that? Why are we flying people out to do that? You know why? Because it's all a fucking jerk-off session. That's all it is. Nothing's really getting done. It's fucking 16 people or 12 or 4 or whatever. It's all them saying, hey, look, we're going out to Detroit to try to figure something out. This is why you're going to vote for me in 2 years or 4 years. Or this is why you're going to do that because look at how we're working. Well, guess what? You could do that over Zoom. If you really gave a flying fuck, you would do it over Zoom. And guess what? It's a 2-line text. 800 miles. In fact, I could do it 1 line. 800 miles, charge overnight. Until that happens, until you could do that with every vehicle on the road, you're not going to get 100% electric vehicles by, was it 2030 is what Biden's trying to say, and that's why they flew out there like, let's see how we can get this done by 2030. I just told you how. You didn't have to take the fucking airplane. In fact, you made a wasted trip causing more greenhouse gases than you would have by shooting a fucking text or doing it over Zoom. Fucking morons. Have your committees. I don't give a shit. If you need to feel important, that's fine. But don't make them cost more to us. But what does that solve? You know what that solves? Over government spending and a certain problem we have. You know what that doesn't solve? A bunch of people have never been in the private sector trying to be fucking important. Another thing that I think describes that perfectly is roundabouts. Alright? Don't get me wrong. I love a good roundabout. It's a little more convenient. It's a little more efficient, depending on which side you are on, than a 4-way stop. I love it. Alright? And they tell you the reason that they're spending so much money onto it and they're closing down roads for 6 months to build just a roundabout. They tell you it's for safety and to make traffic better, and I get that. You know what it is? You know what it's for? They're trying to find a way to give more DUIs. That's all it is. You can tell a drunk person in a roundabout way easier than you could tell them at a 4-way stop. So they talk about safety. No, there's no fucking safety. 4-way stops people have fucking figured out. No, you're doing that for, the length of time or the ease or whatever. That's why they're doing it. But you know what? A drunk can handle a 4-way stop much easier than they can handle a roundabout. Just say, you know what? We're doing this so we can catch more drunks. Because that's all you're doing with those. Again, I prefer roundabouts over 4-way stops. But you know what? I'm not worried about getting caught drunk driving. Stop lying to us. That's all I ask. Stop lying to us. Yes, roundabouts may help traffic in certain situations. As I set the beer back on the table. I speak too much with my hands, that's the problem. So I need to set the beer down a little too often to really hammer my point across, and it just doesn't. Wrong table to do it. But it's a bigger than the card table, so I got more going on here. Roundabouts done right do help traffic, and they are quicker. I get that. The reason the government loves roundabouts, you're going to pull up a DUI checkpoint, just fucking park a cop after a roundabout. You could definitely see somebody who's hammered who can't handle a roundabout. Four-way stops a little trickier just because, it's just straight lines and shit like that. That's why they do it. My squareheads are about to decide whether I'm a genius or a moron or whatever. But you know where that thought came from? I was driving. I'll talk about roundabouts. Of course I was driving. I was driving. And I was just cruising along, doing what I had to do. And all of a sudden, I see someone flash their headlights at me. And I'm not a good-looking gentleman, so I know they're not flashing it because of my attractiveness. So I'm like, that's weird. And then 2 cars later, they flash their headlights at me as well. I'm like, that's odd. So I slowly start to slow down. Then I remember that's code for, hey, there's a cop up ahead with a radar gun. Don't get pulled over. I'm like, hey, that's awful nice of you. Look at us being a community again. Who says person-to-person interaction is dead because of the internet? Who says, just because there's no book clubs anymore, just because it's all done on Facebook or whatever, doesn't mean. I felt awesome with my community. I felt amazing. Look at us being good people together. Next thing I know, the dude behind me gets pulled over. You know why? Because he returned the favor to the cars coming the other way. Apparently, it's illegal. Apparently. Why the fuck am I saying apparently? We all know it's illegal to flash to let them know radar's up ahead. Here's what I want you to do with these stupid fucking laws, the reason it's illegal to flash a car ahead of you, it's not for safety, it's not for anything like that. It's because it costs you fucking money. That's all it is. Like, well, we patrol here to make sure no one's speeding because of safety. But if you warn people not to speed here, well, that's illegal. So what you're telling me is, this is probably a hack idea, and this has probably been done over and over again, but it just fucking annoyed me watching this Corolla behind me get pulled over, all because they were doing what they were supposed to do. Like, hey, look, it might be safer if you slow down here. Whether it's safer for your pocketbook or for the citizens around here, it's definitely safer. They get pulled over and a ticket. There's no goddamn reason for it. The reason is it costs people money. So stop saying that you're there patrolling for safety and for all that. You're not. You're there to make money. You know why? Because if you were doing it, you know how you could do it honestly? How many fucking of these bullshit cameras and these bullshit whatever are out there now? Put a radar detector on them. And you catch every one of these fuckers who are speeding past where you were going to pull them over because of what have you. You catch them all there. A, There's no chance of the flashing lights or whatever, and people just learn. B, you don't run into the issue of, running into an armed citizen or you being armed with a citizen. Random patrols aren't doing shit for safety. They are all for money. Just admit it. Just admit it. Please, just admit it. Stop saying you're having a speed trap for safety. No, you have it for money. That's it. It's illegal to plug someone else's parking meter. Why? Because a ticket is more expensive than the 30 cents you put in their meter. Fucking nonsense. All right, I'm getting close to the end here. I don't know exactly because I've had to do a lot of pauses. Thanks a lot, dog. But yeah, I do have something I want people to reach out to me with. And you can comment on this episode. You can DM me in all social media. My DMs are wide open. That's right, ladies. They are wide open. And dudes, if you have a feminine enough face. Let me know. There was a couple episodes I did earlier where I used a soundboard. It was interesting. I used a pre-made soundboard. I didn't, cultivate my own sounds or what have you. But, yeah. I just want you to vote yes or no. I'll put up the post on, there's ways to post, I don't know. I'll figure out. There's ways to do it. Smart people know how to. Anyway, I'm going to put up voting. Soundboard, yes or no. Vote, cocksuckers. Probably just do it Instagram and Twitter, but vote. All right. This episode, I appreciate you if you stuck through this whole thing. Not gonna lie, I was probably a little scatterbrained. I'm gonna listen back. I'm always less drunk than I always sound less drunk than I think I do. So when I edit it, I'm gonna listen back. But I appreciate you hanging around. They're not all gonna be like this. I'm not gonna show up 7 beers deep and start recording at 11 o'clock at night. But, hey, if you like this version of me, imagine how great I'm going to sound at 0.05. All right. Well, like I said, C Squared Hour, at C Squared Hour, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Like, subscribe, all that. I'm everywhere you can get your podcasts. Do all that sort of nonsense. Let me know you're listening. Again, I'm going to put up a poll. I'll probably do it in the next 7.5 minutes. Vote on it. Please. If not, go fuck yourself and I'll decide on my own. Alright, so I did the whole shout out, like, subscribe, all that. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else. So since I am done, I will see you all next time.